So I'm just going to say it. Breakups hurt. They suck. They feel like a straight kidney punch. And I have experienced a couple of difficult breakups. And I wanted to share about this last one because I felt stuck. I didn't see a clear path forward. And this last relationship that came to an end was a relationship that came after my divorce and my ex wife, whom I had dated for quite a long time. And so this relationship was like the first adult relationship I had ever had. And so it felt like a person that I picked for myself. And when it ran its course, I had a really hard time letting go and figuring out how to move forward. And I wanted to share the number one reason why I couldn't take those steps forward in the beginning. The reason is because I felt like I was owed something in return for the investment that I made in the relationship. All relationships have their ups and downs. We know this, some highs, some lows. It's about compromise, sacrifice, commitment, all of that. And because this relationship was an especially emotionally charged relationship, it carried a lot of heaviness and a lot of baggage for me. And so when it came to an end, I felt like I couldn't accept that truth because there was no way for me to logically comprehend how it could come to an end when I had invested so much of myself into it. Right. And really, then when I went to the next layer after that, I started grappling with this concept of feeling like I was owed something, I realized that it actually comes down to control or lack thereof. Because when the relationship came to an end, I didn't have control over that. I didn't have control over how it was handled, the reasons why my ex was walking away from me. We also had families that were integrated together with children. And so I was carrying a lot of protectiveness over my children and carrying then hurt for them. And none of it made sense, right? My mind was just spinning and spinning and spinning. And I just found myself running the same marathon over and over and over again, which by definition is called rumination, FYI. And it wasn't leading to any positive outcome at all. But it wasn't until I really stripped down this concept of control that set me free. Because here's the ironic part about control: most of life and what happens to us is out of control, out of our control, anyway. There was this quote that I used to read when I was a kid, and the first line of it, or the first couple lines, basically stated that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. And I think it's just dead on because the only thing in this world that we can be sure of is that change is imminent. It's going to happen. And we don't have control over most of it, but we do have control over our integrity, our thoughts, our emotions, and our feelings, and our attitude. That's what we can control. And I recognize we can't always control our thoughts, and our feelings are a derivative of our thoughts, but by and large, we have control over ourselves, and that's it. And so once I was able to accept the fact that I will never be able to rewrite the story, I will never be able to have a different ending with my ex, I was able to then start to refocus my energy elsewhere. And really, I was focusing on myself in a mature fashion where I had to really drive myself to take positive steps forward without any regret, and almost even having some level of gratitude for the relationship, even though I was still hurting so bad and I didn't want it to be over. Because when I accepted this fact, I was actually able to have control. I was just redirecting it inward. So then it was controlling how I wanted to proceed next. What was my future going to look like? Because you are also grieving the loss of that future. You're not only grieving the person, but it's the life you are creating together. And that also was gone. And so as someone who likes having control, which I think is pretty innate to being a man, I think it's how we're programmed. I recognize we're not all the same, but nevertheless, not having control makes you feel then even more out of control emotionally, and it's easy to just completely unravel. And I obviously didn't want that to happen. I had kids counting on me. I had a business that needed my attention. I had people around me in the community that still were there. So I couldn't just, collapse. That wasn't an option. And so I decided that I needed to redirect, as I said, this control inward and focus on how to essentially improve myself because every breakup is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to look inward, to reflect, to evaluate maybe some of the missteps that you took, and also figure out what are you not willing to compromise in the future with a partner. And all of it came crystal clear when I was able to actually take some steps forward, even when I felt like I was hurting, grieving the loss. And it all boiled down to control. So there's a lot more in there that I plan to share in the future as it relates to how to map out a successful, post breakup healing journey and rebuilding yourself. And this new project of mine is all about how I've rebuilt myself time and time again, whether it's been Crohn's disease or relocating and having to start my own business or getting a divorce, going through breakups, going through a chronic back injury and literally physically rebuilding my body. This is all about how I've rebuilt at the age 40. And I'm here to share my knowledge and expertise with you because I think there are moments in time where we are faced with a crossroads and we have to decide how we plan to move forward with our future. And sometimes it means literally rebuilding the foundation. So thanks for sticking with me. I'm looking forward to continuing to share. And I hope you found some of this to be a little bit valuable to you. And if so, then I hope to see you again. Take care.